So welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be going on a rant, which I really don't do very often, but there's something that's been bothering me in the Techtuber space, and well, I just want to talk about it, so here we go. So I've talked a lot on my channel and several other Techtubers, including the mainstream ones that you're probably thinking of first when you think of Techtubers, have talked about budget builds on our channels, and I'm no exception to that. I do it quite often, probably more often than some of the bigger Techtubers, and a lot of that is just a function of I'm trying to make money on a lot of these PCs, and I'm also working with more limited resources than the full-time Techtubers. I have to have a day job like most of you probably have, so I'm not making tons of money on this endeavor, but anytime I get a chance to talk about getting really good gaming performance, especially because I am a gamer, I enjoy games just like most of you likely do as well, but I'm very interested in getting very good gaming performance for a very cheap price point, because one of the big things that has always bothered me is console gamers citing the prices as one of the reasons they go towards consoles. And yes, in the past year that has been the case, where there has been legitimate reasons for somebody to buy a console because of price concerns, especially when graphics cards were just unavailable and very difficult to come by. But right now is not really that type of time. You can actually find a really good gaming PC, or at least put one together for $300 or less using the used market. So it always is a little bit of like my little baby to talk about budget gaming PCs, and recently that hasn't really been talked about a lot, at least not accurately, by some other Techtubers. So one of the somewhat newer features about YouTube that you've probably noticed in your own sub box if you frequent the subscriptions tab is that you can actually, as a creator, send out messages that are not videos to your subscribers. So you can put a picture there, maybe link to a video, and put some text with it, like almost caption a picture. And one I saw yesterday actually bothered me a little bit. And I want to preface this by saying this is actually a pretty solid YouTube channel in general, and that would be Hardware Canucks, especially if you're somebody that likes really great camera work. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in the Techtuber space that does better work than Hardware Canucks. But the image was a little bit of a slap in the face to budget gamers, because it said, budget all AMD build coming to your sub boxes this week. And then the video hit, and it was talking about a $1,000 AMD build, and the build as they showed it in the video is actually $1,300, not $1,000. In my definition, that's not really a budget rig at all. Now, to be clear, I am fully aware that really, technically, a budget is whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're very well off or just have a lot of disposable income, and a budget to you would be like $3,000 thrown at a PC, no problem. But when I think of budget gaming and budget PC building, I'm thinking about getting the absolute best price to performance that you can. I'm thinking about things like that I've been doing recently, like buying old Dell Optiplexes that have pretty solid hardware. They may not look very great, but they have solid hardware, and you can pop in a GPU and you're off and running at 1080p gaming at a very, very low cost compared to buying a new PC. That's what I'm thinking about when I think of budgets. $1,000 gaming PC that actually costs $1,300 if you were putting it together as they show it in the video. That's not at all what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking of budget gaming PCs. And that's not really a Hardware Canucks issue. I really feel like a lot of large Techtuber channels have pushed towards the high end of hardware, and that's not a fault on them, and nor is it a knock on them. The people that are paying them, so their sponsors, are wanting to push that higher end gear. That's the gear that they're getting provided free samples of, which again, I've had several free samples of some products at this point, and absolutely not knocking them for that. But that's just what the products that the vendors are pushing. So that's what we're seeing on a lot of the large Techtuber channels that are not buying a lot of the products themselves. You'll notice some of the Techtubers, and Jay's 2 Cents is actually a great example of this, have actually ventured out into some of the budget space, and they tend to buy their own budget hardware. You're not seeing AMD supplying people with FX 8320 still, or old hardware. So Techtubers have to go out of their way to buy budget parts. So the result of that is we just see a lot of high-end gear and high-end hardware that people may or may not be buying in large volumes. So I really feel like the average gamer is looking more like a GTX 1050 Ti, GTX 1060 than they are at 1080 Ti's and 2080 Ti's. But you're seeing a lot more coverage of the very high-end hardware, and that'll be the same with processors when Intel launches its 9000 series as well. And I really do think there is a pretty big market for the lower-end hardware. I see channels like City doing an excellent job with that, and then Random Gaming in HD, which is always providing some very retro hardware, some almost like modern reviews with some newer titles, just to see how much mileage you can get out of that old hardware, and I really love that. But what I really think we're seeing is a disconnect between sort of the biggest Techtuber channels and what I think the average person is actually buying and putting into their rig. And where we see this manifesting itself, at least in this case, is a $1,000 PC that actually costs $1,300, as it's shown in the video, being passed off as a budget gaming PC, which is just not the case unless you're using the very loosest definition of what a budget build really is. So I was just a little bit annoyed with it. I hate that we're not seeing more budget coverage, but I do understand the economics behind it. I do understand why. It's just a mild annoyance, but on the bright side, you will continue to see some of that older generation, especially hardware from this particular channel, as well as other great ones. I already mentioned Random Gaming in HD is an awesome channel, and so is City. City in particular has recently really been hitting it off with some of the older budget hardware builds, and also a great channel to watch if you are somebody looking into getting into the buying and selling sort of trade or business of PC gaming. If you're wanting to make a little bit of a profit on the side, that's a great channel to follow. Highly recommend it. But of course, you know that I like to kick it back to you, so let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about the Techtuber space right now? Is there a disconnect between what people are buying and what people, the average consumer that is, thinks are budget parts versus what Techtubers seem to think are budget parts? Let me know your sort of perspective on this issue down below. And as always, if you like it, give it a like, share, subscribe, comment. All those things help out a lot. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. And as always, I will let YouTube queue up a couple more videos around me from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.